Hello, my name is Susie de Jong, speaker, coach, and author of The Untangling. And this is the Untangling series podcast, where we untangle our own unseen and unspoken chains that bind us to open up the way for us to experience more joy and peace and healing than we ever thought possible. So come and join me. Put on your comfiest clothes, grab a cup of something hot, or maybe even a glass of something bubbly. Put your feet up and let the untangling begin. Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Untangling Podcast. Today I had the great pleasure of speaking with Anita Carr, a fellow author and participant in a wonderful writing project we are both involved in called Unity. Unity is a collaboration of writing by 11 amazing women who share topics relevant to all of us, and by sharing, show how we are all connected. It has been a passion project and curated by my wonderful publisher, the beautiful Natasha Gilmour of the Kind Press. Anita is a passionate writer, speaker, advocate, and mum to 3 precious children. Anita shares how she was diagnosed with ADHD and separated from her husband in 2020-2021. These 2 life-changing events inspired Anita to start rediscovering who she was, and as she puts it, embrace all of the beautiful and messy parts of herself. Anita slowly found her voice and started sharing her story in the hope of helping others, especially women who may be going through similar struggles, and not letting them feel as though they are alone. We talk about the feelings that one may experience when they make a choice such as ending a long-term relationship, like guilt, shame, failure, and also the judgment that comes along with all of it. Join us as we talk honestly and openly about the traits of being a female that may bring us to these key points in our lives, maybe as a result of being the good girl, the people pleaser, and not feeling as though we fit in. This is Anita's story. Hello everyone and welcome back to the next episode of the Untangling Podcast. I am so grateful that you've joined me again. I've had a little bit of a break, but I'm back now, better than ever, and absolutely thrilled to have with me as my first guest in this new season a beautiful lady by the name of Anita Carr. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Anita. I have to actually say we've only met each other very recently, but instantly I knew we were sisters in joy, and I wanted to share her journey with you because I know that there will be people out there that will just go, oh my gosh, that could be me, and thank you. I first met Anita through being involved in a project with my publisher, the beautiful Natasha Gilmour from the Kind Press. And she has created a project, a collaboration of different authors called the Unity Project, which is going to be published, I can't remember the date, but November sometime. I'll let you know. And it is just bringing together a group of women who all have different stories that are intertwined, because we are all the same underneath the wrappings. We mightn't think so, and with everything going on in social media in the world, it might not feel like that. But believe me, we are united. And when Anita reached out to me and I read her story, I just went, oh, wow, I really would love to share her story with you. And so here we are today. So thank you, Anita, so much for joining me.
You're so welcome. I'm excited. And yeah, like you said, it's funny how you are drawn to certain people instantly. And yeah, totally the same for you. And after reading your chapter too, I definitely resonated on lots of levels.
And the biggest thing that, so Anita wrote that she is a writer, an ADHD advocate, but the most exciting thing for me was she put an enabler of joy. And I went, oh.
Yes, so that actually came from a therapy session with my psychologist. So, working through, things as we do, trying to make sense of things in life, she pointed out to me that I'm always, wanting to make people happy and do things for them. I'm very much a giver. And she gave me that label and said, you're an enabler of joy. And when she said that to me, it just really resonated with me so much. And I think it's a positive spin on it too, because I think sometimes being giving, it can be a negative in a way. So obviously if you are giving too much, but I think if you're viewing it as you're giving joy or enabling joy in somebody else, I don't know, it gives like a bit of a different spin to it. Feels different.
Well, I love it. And I am in a coaching group and they've actually nicknamed me Susie DeJoy instead of Susie DeJong.
Oh,
So
okay.
there you go.
Totally need to change your name now. Like, yeah, love that. Do that.
I do that by default. I don't know how
Do
my
it. Yeah,
husband
why
would
not?
feel about it though.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
So I'd love you just to fill me in a little bit about who Anita is, where you are at your life, and what brought you to writing that chapter and feeling the pull to share where you've been and your knowledge now and how it can help others.
Yeah. So I turned 40 this year. I have 3 beautiful children who are 10, 8, and 6. So about 4 years ago, I was terribly unhappy in my marriage, and I felt like I wasn't happy in that marriage, and I needed to get out of that marriage. And like anybody who has those feelings, it's overwhelming, and it's a really big decision to make. And again, when you have small children, at the time my youngest was only 2, it's a big decision to make, and you constantly think, was this the right thing for them? And it's funny actually thinking back to it, one of the things that I think actually pushed me to know that I made the right decision then was reading Untamed by Glennon Doyle. I don't know if you've read that, Susie. And she really put a spin on the fact that you're actually giving your children the gift of a happy mother by leaving an unhappy marriage. And for me, that just, again, resonated so much because, I didn't want my children to be unhappy or have a model of what a relationship should be like based on what the one that I had with their father, which wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled. So the past few years for me, I've been going on that kind of a journey of who am I outside of that marriage now, because I was 23 when I met him. So it's just been kind of like a self-discovery kind of journey, I suppose. And within that, I did also find out that I had ADHD, which again was a whole other identity crisis alongside the one of being a separated mother of 3. So those two things happening kind of at the same time over the past few years has had, a massive impact on me. And so that's kind of where I am now, feeling a bit more settled in who I am, and wanting and feeling a lot more comfortable to share a lot more of my experiences, in the hope that other people get some, inspiration or some comfort in the fact that there are lots of people that are probably going through the same thing as you, but maybe not everybody's talking about it.
And what a gift that is. And you're right, because we have this perception, and there was something that jumped out when I read your writing, because I just went, oh, that's me, even though I'm a lot older than you now. But the things that really jumped out to me were things I've actually written about too, with the labels that you gave yourself, which were the good girl, the people pleaser, and felt like you didn't fit in, because you just described me in those three terms. I felt like an alien for most of my life. And to read that, it made me sad, I'm not going to lie, but it also brought me comfort. And I think that's what really struck me, was when people have the chance to meet you, whether it's through coaching with you or reading your writing, is that it gives them comfort to know, like, there's nothing fucking wrong with me. Like, exactly. I'm just going through, like, an experience in my life, and it's, I know, I feel quite emotional about this, because I think it's so important that we talk about this stuff, which, in my era we didn't. And now, thank goodness for you and your children, and my daughter and grandchildren to come, or whoever, that we can do this and go, there's nothing wrong with you. So what would you tell your children about how, if they're watching you now, how you can explain that to them, that it's okay to feel what you're feeling? What would you say to them?
You know what? I already talk to them all the time about this stuff. It, again, even when it comes to when you have, two different homes and two different parents who clearly are not compatible, have different views on things, different, values. And I think that my children now are seeing that even for themselves, because I feel like I now am more confident in showing those parts of myself when I think I wasn't prior. And so I do speak to them already when things come up that, maybe me and their dad might disagree on. And I just explain, well, I want to, I either want to share things about myself. I actually had this conversation, to be honest, this morning, because there's an interview that I did about ADHD on TV, and I was saying how, their dad didn't want them included very much into it. And they're like, why? And I said, well, Daddy just has a different viewpoint on that. Whereas for Mummy, I want to show people that it isn't just them. I want to help them. I want them to see that they're not alone in what they're feeling. And that's what's important to me, and that's what I want to continue to do. And it's okay that Daddy's different to that, but you just have to do what's right for you and what feels right for you. So I'm very much, when things come up in general, I don't lie to them. I don't sugarcoat things either. But I also, don't, I make them age appropriate and not, saying not nice things about the other parent. But yeah, I'm trying to teach them to also just trust their own intuition, their vibes about people, that to be themselves is special, that there's no one else on the planet that is like them, that just because somebody else thinks a certain way about you doesn't necessarily mean that is how they, how you are. Only you know how you are, and you've got to stick to that. So yeah, I'm constantly throwing little random things out to them just to, I think, to ensure that they know that they're in a safe space with me, to be able just to be them and talk to me about a whole heap of random things that I definitely could not have spoken to my mother about at all. And that's really, really important to me.
Absolutely. And yeah. And as I always say when I talk to people about, different relationships and family ideas and all, it's never about blame. It's not like we're blaming the other person. It's about understanding. And of course, that's even more important with kids because we have to be they're so fragile, and the things that may be a throwaway line for us are things that stick with them. And as we know, when things are not going right in relationships with kids, with their parents, they always blame themselves, even though we know it's not their fault. So,
Yes.
yeah, I really applaud you for that.
Yeah.
And there was another couple of words that came up when I read your chapter, which I also went, oh, yep. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there too. And there were three. There was guilt, there was shame, and there was failure. And I don't know, maybe it's a female thing. Probably I'm wrong. I don't want to generalize, but and I don't know your background in regards to, your ethnicity or, whatever. And I know that culture has a large part to play in things.
Yeah.
But tell me about those three words. We've got a guilt, shame, and failure.
So I was talking about my marriage and leaving my marriage because it was my choice to leave the marriage. And again, I talk about this in my chapter too, that I think as women, yes, I think that, men still do feel these things, but I think it's presented to us differently. And I think it's changing, this generation, but definitely, when we were growing up, what we're shown in movies and TV shows and in music, or what our parents tell us that a relationship should be like, or what a man, should be for a woman, and it's almost, when I started feeling unhappy, I started feeling guilty that I wasn't grateful for what I had, because everybody else is like, oh, well, you've got the house, and you've got a car, and you've got kids, and you've got this, and you've got that. And so you start questioning yourself, going, oh, well, should I just go along like with this? Like, well, am I being a horrible person because I want more than what I have, not materialistically, but just more for myself? There's just this feeling. And so, so the guilt comes from there, that I have everything I have been told that I should want, but it just wasn't enough for me. And also, and then the shame, I think, from there comes from what other people think of you. And that ties in with that whole people-pleasing thing, that you're more concerned about what other people think of you other than what you think of yourself and what you're wanting for yourself, what you're deserving of for yourself. And that was a really big thing for me. What are people going to think? It looks like that he treats me amazing and I have everything amazing. And it's almost like I'm going to be seen as this, horrible, selfish woman. Like, how dare you? And that is where that comes in, is dealing with what other people are going to say about me, to me, think about me and how uncomfortable that's going to make me feel, and if I can deal with that uncomfortableness. And it turns out it's very hard to do that, but you know what? It's a massive lesson on knowing that you are actually way more important than what everybody else's viewpoint is, or thoughts or opinions, because really, and I think you said this in your chapter, it really just is a projection of themselves. It's what they're feeling that is being placed upon you. It's probably actually has nothing to do with you. Yeah. And then the failure as well, a similar kind of a thing, you know, the marriage being a failure, you not being good enough, me not being good enough to be able to, have a long marriage, successful marriage. Yeah. You just kind of blame yourself. Yeah. So that's where that kind of, all comes together, and it all is just interrelated, really.
Oh, it is. And I have to say, out of all the lessons I've learned, it took me a bloody long time. I wish I had learned it as young as you are, that the most important opinion is my own. But I was brought up with judgment. Again, no blame. That's just the era, the circumstances. But
they don't know any better.
when you let go of that, that absolutely was the biggest, most freeing lesson for me. And I'm so glad you've understood that and sharing it, paying it forward, because, it doesn't matter. You know, as I say, at the end of the day, when you get to the end of your life, like, other people's opinions, the last thing you're going to care about.
Yeah. It's funny though, because it's so easy to say that now for both of us to be saying this now. However, it takes a really long time to get to that point. Like, I'm almost 4 years down the road. And it doesn't just happen like that. It is, you can see it and you can feel that you're wanting to go there and you're taking the steps, but it doesn't just happen straight away. Like, you doubt it and you go back and forth, and still now, to be quite honest, I'm not saying that I don't take on other people's opinions and worry about other people's opinions, even of me now, even with this chapter coming out, I have, that kind of, like, what are people, going to think? So it's just, I think it's an ongoing thing. So yeah, it sounds like it's just easy to kind of say oh, don't worry about it, but it really is, a lot of steps and a lot of time and practice, really.
Absolutely. It's a process. And absolutely, I would agree. It's not an overnight. And again, it's also relevant to your background and your, family and everything around you.
All the experiences you've had in your life. Absolutely. Up until that point, it all adds up, and it's that internal monologue, your beliefs, your internal beliefs, what you've been told about yourself. Not necessarily what you've told yourself. It's usually what other people have told you about yourself, and you believe them, even though it's probably not necessarily true.
You're so gorgeous.
Thank you.
So I want to know, what are your plans moving forward? Like, if you could, anything could happen, we could go, Anita can have the world, what would be the things that are in your periphery that you would love to have?
Wow, that's a really good question. And it's funny, over the years, I've had a lot of career paths. I'm quite creative in general, and it's right now, at this point in my life, it's the first time in my life that I kind of don't have a title of what what either my career is or who I am. And it is something that when you meet someone, if you are dating or in general, one of the first questions, what do you do? And for the first time, the past few years, I struggle with that question because
I hate that question. Sorry,
why?
Oh, who cares? You should be going, who are you, not what do you do?
Yeah, but in the same token, though, I think it is important because I think that does tell a lot about somebody by knowing it, but maybe it's the wording of it. I don't know. That's the triggering part, because I think it is important to share what it is that you're passionate about for work, or, what makes you an income or whatever, because I think it does tell a lot about a person. But I think it's more, I struggle with, I don't just have one word, for it. So at the moment, I'm wanting to pursue the writing career. So I have a whole heap of books in. I'm currently writing one and have ideas for many more. So I'd love to be able to definitely publish a few books. I'm quite an ADHD advocate, especially for women, because it really is at the moment. A lot of people, and especially women, are learning that they do have it. And because for so long, it has been just something for children, usually something for boys. And I think now, again, with social media and so much more information, we're learning so much more. And all of a sudden we're like, wow, okay, my life makes so much more sense now. And something's not wrong with me. It is just my brain works differently. And that's okay. And so I'm wanting to do more with that, whether that is through writing. I really love to do more speaking as well, about ADHD, but also just about, your journey of rediscovering yourself through, leaving a marriage or, a relationship breaking down at an age where you kind of feel like everything should be all set now. You know what I mean? Like, by 40, you think, oh yeah, everything's going to be exactly the way I want it to be. And then you just kind of float along with life. And that is not a reality at all. So I think in terms of, I don't know, big plan picture, I would just love to be able to keep sharing my experiences, my little pearls of wisdom that I have in any way possible, to be able to reach, a large amount of people, so that, again, they just don't feel alone, and motivates to either, go and get more, go and find more that you really feel like that you are craving, and that it's okay to do that. Because someone like me 4 years ago, if they told me where I would be now and talking to you, having a chapter in a book and being confident in talking about all of these things, no way. Like, I was a shell of myself, and I would not have believed it at all. So I suppose I just want to be proof that you can actually do it, even though right now, if you believe that you can't, I'm telling you can. Because if I can, I'm telling you can. So I suppose I don't have a massive end goal. It's just any of those things in any way. If anybody wants to offer me opportunities to do those things, to share my my experiences, then I'll take it, and just love to see where that goes.
And it will. I know already. I can feel it. And isn't, just that word that keeps coming back to me is joy. And I'm going to adopt that. When you said, like that, what people ask you is, what do you do? Let's change that. I'm going to let you coin this. What's your passion?
Yeah.
Instead of saying on dating websites or networking or whatever, when people go, so what do you do? Let's change that. What is your passion? How much more powerful is that?
Totally. And that is something I do. I do ask people, whether it is dating or getting to know people in general, because that is one of my values, is being passionate about something. And I think it's actually, but you know what? I don't think people think about it though. There are a lot of people that you do ask them and they kind of don't know. But even the joy thing, to be honest, that was something that I discovered quite early on in my journey, was what brings me joy. I started asking myself the question, what brings me joy? And I really had to think about it. And now I know very easily because I'm aware of it. But I've been starting to ask either my friends or in general the same question. And honestly, they can't answer it.
No,
And
I relate to that. Yeah, because there was a time a while back where, and I know I've asked a few friends this, what makes you happy? And I couldn't answer it. And that was just,
yep.
Past that. Now we're past that. We know what brings us joy. It could be as simple as having a chat with a friend, or it doesn't matter. There's no rating scale that we have to abide by. It's personal. And obviously you have a lot of things that bring you joy, like the photo of those beautiful children behind you.
Yes.
And yeah, discovering who you are and becoming an author. And who knows, the world is your oyster. And isn't that exciting? And you will share that with your children.
Definitely. And, you know, I want them to look at me as their mother and see that lots of different things are possible, and that also you don't have to follow down, you know, a path of going to university or deciding, you know, that you're having this specific career, or you're, you know, going to get married, or you're going to live here. Do you know what I mean? Like I kind of just want them to see that I'm just kind of exploring a whole different world of things that may work, they may not work. Some may give me money, some may not give me money. But again, I'm learning from it and I'm getting joy out of it, and that's okay. I want them to see that it's okay to explore a whole different world of options without feeling the pressure from anybody to be a certain way or do certain things or be at a certain point by a certain age or achieve certain things. Because, you know, they're all the things that I felt my whole life, the pressure to do those things for other people without really, asking myself, well, what is it that I want? What is it that brings me joy, and what, totally separate to everybody else. So, yeah.
And that's not selfish, is it?
No, no, not at all. It's definitely a whole interesting concept that I'm sure we could talk about forever.
I know. I've so enjoyed talking to you, and we're going to wrap it up now, and I'm going to include all of Anita's details, her website, how you can contact her if you'd like to work with her, find out more about her, because she's just a delight. And also the book that we're all writing together, we will share that. And I just want to thank you again. I've just so enjoyed talking to you today, and I feel a real kinship and excitement for you and what's ahead for you and your beautiful family. So thank you, Anita.
Thank you for having me. I've loved these chats. I hope we have lots more of them.
Absolutely.
Behind the scenes, one of us is going to have to fly to go and see one or the other at some point, I think, as well. So I love it, and it's important to, I think, have these conversations too.
It is. So thank you. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. And I'll see you again next time on the Untangling Podcast. Bye for now. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Untangling Series podcast. I feel absolutely blessed to be on this journey with you. If you would like more details on where to purchase my book, The Untangling, I've popped the link in the notes below. Perhaps you may feel called to work with me one-on-one to support you in your own untangling. I would love that. I offer my services as a coach to walk you through this process in a unique, bespoke program created solely for you because you are unique. Another one of my passions is offering my services as a keynote speaker. I do like engaging with others, as you can probably tell. If any of that is of interest to you, you can contact me directly by the links below or head on over to my website at susiedejeong.com.au and I will get straight back to you, I promise. I love what I do and I know what my purpose is: to pay it forward and help others untangle and find their own freedom and joy. So bye for now, and I look forward to seeing you next time.